Warning, there is a good chance Bitcoin Mike has no idea what he's talking about. Do your own research. Enjoy the show. Thank you. All right, folks, the question on everybody's mind right now, is this a short squeeze right now? Are we seeing like a short-term pump here? Then we're just going to dump right back down to $20,000. All right, we're seeing Bitcoin pumping today. USDT, of course, over $1. We have USDC approaching that $1 peg again, but we're still not there. Honestly, I thought it might be back by now. But of course, we still have uncertainty with that bank. Of course, the old bank, Silicon Valley Bank, as you guys all know, it collapsed. Pretty big bank, second biggest bank failure in history. And it basically collapsed on Friday. Tomorrow is Monday. Stocks and finances have pretty much been closed for the weekend, so nobody knows what's going to happen. Nobody knows the long-term effects from this bank. Nobody knows exactly who was involved with this bank. We do know that USDC had like 7% of its cash in that bank, which is why you saw USDC basically collapse to like 88 cents. Now we're back up to 97 cents because there's pretty much a bank run. People were scared. Really interesting week in crypto. I learned a lot this week, folks. If anything in crypto, even if you're not an investor in crypto or finance or whatever, I learned a lot this week. If you were to ask me a couple weeks ago or even a couple days ago, what's the most stable coin? What's the one that's going to stand the test of time? I would have said USDC. And it turns out that USDT turns out to be more stable than USDC. So I've actually come to the conclusion that all stable coins are shit. Even banks are shit, which I'm going to get to in a moment. But at this point, holding any money in a stable coin is idiotic unless you're just putting that money into the stable coin to basically buy something else. I hate to say, well, I don't hate to say it, but it's just kind of weird for me to say it, but you're better off just putting your money in Ethereum or Bitcoin. It's almost safer than putting your money in something like a stable coin that if there's a bank run or something happens, they can pretty much go to zero. So, I mean, it's been a crazy week. I was listening to Ivan on Tech today, who I don't listen to too much, and he was pretty much saying, yeah, it's a wake-up call. Like, nothing is sacred anymore. Putting your money in the bank is not sacred. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, Silvergate Bank, it's FDIC insured. Everybody's going to get their money back. It turns out they're not. I played a video the other day that 85% of people in Silvergate Bank are not FDIC insured because it's mostly companies, corporations, payroll, people who just have a lot of money, so they put a lot of money in there. And remember, FDIC is only up to $250,000, which might be a lot to you and me, but really is it? For example, I was thinking about this the other day. Okay, $250,000 is a lot of money. What if you worked your whole life, you sell your house for $400,000? You get that $400,000 and you put it in the Silicon Valley Bank because you're going to buy another house, and during that time, the bank collapsed. Well, you're only insured up to $250,000. So basically, your net worth just got cut in half. That house that you were paying on for the last 30 years, it's worth half now. Your $400,000 house is now worth $250,000, and that's all you're insured for. All the big companies, startup companies with millions of dollars on there for payroll and things like that, they're not insured. They're only insured up to $250,000. If you got 100 people working for your company and your payroll is millions of dollars, $250,000 is nothing. So a lot of people were saying, oh my God, there's going to be a bailout. Well, Yellen just came out a couple hours ago and said there's going to be no federal bailout for the collapsed Silicon Valley Bank. Janet Yellen said Sunday that the federal government would not bail out the Silicon Valley Bank, but it's working to help depositors. Okay, so they're not going to do a bailout, but they might help depositors. What does that mean? Does that mean they're going to give them a portion of their money back, all of their money back? Or does it depend how much you had on there? Does it depend who you are, who you know, who you blow? That's the thing. So this last couple of days for me, I'm changing my whole tune on the way I look at crypto, the way I look at banks. I mean, look, at this point in history, what we've learned, well, for one thing, what we've learned is if you're going to put your money in the bank, we got Bitcoin up to 21,476. This is a massive pump, folks. Could be a short squeeze, so don't get too excited. But anyway, if you're going to put your money in a bank, you just have to put it in the biggest bank possible, because when you put your money in these little banks, like Silicon Valley Bank, which was not a little bank, but compared to like Wells Fargo or JP Morgan it was, the government can get away with not bailing it out because if they don't bail you out, the country's not going to implode. If you have your money in JP Morgan or Citibank or Wells Fargo or PNC, if they go under and the government doesn't bail them out, the United States is done. It's done. The whole banking system is done. Nobody will trust banks anymore. It's just a collapse of America. So the government has to bail out those banks. So what have I learned? And this is a complete flip of how I used to think, because I have all these local banks in my neighborhood. They're all friendly. They're all run by old ladies in there. The friendliest people you'd ever meet. They give you great customer service. They have lollipops for the kids in the drive-thru. Like, wow, what a great bank. I actually had some money in one of these banks. I'm out of Maryland, so we have a lot of these small banks. If those banks go under, there's a chance you're not going to get your money back. So I've basically taken a whole new stance. For one, if you're going to put your money in a bank, you got to just use the big banks. Even though they're not going to give you good customer service, they suck. Fuck, I had to sue Bank of America a few years ago and I won when my account got hacked and they wouldn't give me my money back. Horrible, horrible people in this bank. Like the spawn of Satan. So I would actually avoid Bank of America. But Bank of America, at least if you put $1 million in that account, probably know Bank of America, if they go out of business or if something happens, they're going to get bailed out by the United States government. And if they don't, who cares anyway, because there is no more United States. The government has ceased to be. They have to bail out these banks. So that's one thing I learned. The other thing I learned is beyond that, if you're in crypto, we've all seen what's happened with these exchanges, of course, self-custody, which I already knew, but seeing a bank go out is like, wow, we're seeing crypto exchanges go kaboot this year, and we're seeing banks. Nothing is sacred. So, of course, with Bitcoin, of course, having your own wallet, hardware wallet, where you have the seed phrase and the passcode, and you control it, is, of course, the next big thing. I'm really, I've been in crypto since 2017, but the last couple days have been like, wow, like I've learned more than I've learned in the last couple years being in crypto, just seeing a major bank collapse. You see a major bank collapse. Think about it. If all those people that were in Silicon Valley Bank had millions of dollars in there, if they had their own private wallet in Bitcoin, and that's where they were keeping their money, they would actually have a better shot. Their future would be well better off than now they have to wait for the government. What's the government going to do? Is the government going to pay them back? Janet Yellen has already said there's not going to be a bailout. This is freaky stuff. So my chair just collapsed on me. All right. So the lesson is, use a major bank and just basically self-custody. And of course, anything you keep on a smaller bank, maybe you keep a few $1,000s there because for your checking account or something like that. But absolutely crazy stuff. And of course, we saw that USDC unpegged from the dollar. And it went down to 86 cents. Now it's back up to 97. A lot of people sold out at like 87 cents. They lost a lot of money. People were freaking out. Now, what do I think is going to happen? I mean, I think that USDC will be salvaged because only a small percentage of their money was kept on this bank. But my thing is, what if other banks start collapsing tomorrow? Like, what if the stock market crashes tomorrow and people just don't like the federal government response to this Silicon Valley Bank, and other banks start collapsing that USDC had money on? Well, if that happened, you're looking at no more USDC, or same with Tether. What if Tether has money on a bank, in a bank that collapses tomorrow? So we have learned that the banks are definitely not, really, they're probably no safer than putting your money on Binance or a US-based exchange. Because what happened with Silicon Valley Bank is no different really than happened with FTX.US. And we'll see tomorrow if the government's going to give these people their money back. But I would bet that some people are just not going to get all of their money back. Because if the government has to pay everybody back, isn't that essentially a bailout? And Janet Yellen says no bailout. So maybe they'll give people a percentage. I don't know, but it really has opened my eyes to how devious these banks are. Tone Vazel's playing a video the other day. It's on Twitter. I'm not going to look it up. Well, I would look it up, but I can't pause my video because there's some problem, so I can't pause. But it was bankers. They were in some closed-door meeting. It was people who worked for the Fed, and they were saying, they're like drinking. They're like, oh, my God, you wouldn't believe it. If people knew how close most of these banks were to collapsing, they wouldn't put any of their money in these banks. And this is what people who were saying. like in the Fed or the FDIC. So really is crazy. Okay, let's get back to the markets. Bitcoin pumping today. Is this a short squeeze? I don't know. I mean, I don't trust this pump at all. The reason I don't trust this pump is tomorrow we have no idea what's going to happen with the Silicon Valley Bank. The stocks could absolutely collapse tomorrow like you've never seen. And also you have the Fed meeting this week. You have interest rates. You have inflation. I mean, you just have so much. You have so much going on this week. So I expect a volatile week. It is reassuring to see Bitcoin back up to 23,000. A lot of these altcoins are pumping nicely, like Cardano back up to 32 cents. You remember, folks, Cardano, when Bitcoin was at like 23,000, Cardano was at like 33 cents. So Cardano really hasn't even dumped all that much. Matic back up to $1.12. I did see that Theta, while Theta did dump hard, Theta is back up in the top 50 at 94 cents. Folks, Theta under $1, you gotta be buying. I'm not gonna, I can only say it so much. And VeChain at like 2 cents. So VeChain actually had a pretty hard dump. So we'll see what happens, folks. I just want to make a quick video that, you know, if anything, if you're paying attention to crypto, if you're paying attention to finance or anything, this should show you that, wow, if you have all your money in a bank, and like I said, FDIC insurance, $250,000. A lot of people have a lot more than $250,000 in their bank. You get inheritance, you got funds, you got, like I said, a family member passes away and leaves you a bunch of money. I mean, $250,000, like, you know, there's a lot of middle-class people, upper middle-class people that have $300,000 in their savings because they got inheritance, or $500,000 because they sold a house. And they're waiting, like I said, they're waiting to buy a new house. And your bank collapses right after that happens. Everything you worked hard for your whole life is gone. So we'll see what happens with this bank thing tomorrow. But like this article says, it's everybody's problem, because if the federal government doesn't do the appropriate thing tomorrow, other people are going to be like, holy shit, if this bank collapses, my bank can collapse. And a lot of people are going to go to these little banks. I'm not going to mention your names. It doesn't matter what town you're from. Are you from Illinois? Are you from California, Florida? You have those little banks, and people are going to say, I'm getting my money out of these little banks, and I'm putting it in the big banks, or I'm putting it in crypto, or whatever. I'm putting the money under my mattress because I don't trust it. So we will see what happens. But even Bill Ackman, who's the big billionaire hedge fund guy, he came out and he said, if the federal government doesn't fix this problem, in fact, I'll find. All right, so here's what Bill Ackman, billionaire guy, is really smart. Has caught a lot of stocks that did really well. Just a really smart investor guy. He said the government has about 48 hours to fix a soon-to-be irreversible mistake by allowing Silicon Valley Bank financials to fall without protecting all depositors. The world has woken up to what an uninsured deposit is, or unsecured. An unsecured illiquid claim on a failed bank. So he's pretty much saying this. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it kind of goes on forever, but he's pretty much saying if the government doesn't bail these people out, by Monday, which is tomorrow when the stock market opens, you're going to see bank runs like you've never seen before, and it's going to do irreversible damage to the banking system, which, if you're in crypto, that's bullish. So everything happening right now with this bank, even though it tanked USDC, is bullish for crypto, because this is going to wake people up into like, wow, these banks weren't as reliable as we thought. Maybe I should be self-custodying my Bitcoin. And I think it's going to get a lot of people out of these stable coins. And where are people going to put their money instead of stable coins? Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other altcoins. So overall, long-term bullish for Bitcoin. But wow, what's going to happen with the stock market tomorrow and the markets in general? We're going to have a volatile week, folks. So it is absolutely incredible that Bitcoin's pumping. But, I mean, it's going to be a roller coaster. So I have no prediction one way or the other. Go right back down to $20,000 tomorrow with the markets. But if the government bails out this bank tomorrow and everything's great, the stock market could pump. And we could be back up to $25,000 Bitcoin. So that's why you got to buy the dips and fucking put on your seatbelt and just ride the roller coaster. All right, like and subscribe. Talk to you later.